Yeah,
Okay.
I can see that. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's jump into the session right now. So this is an internship, wonderful internship program that has been brought to you by Kalkey right now. So the main reason we have introduced this specific topic is because currently in the job market there is a huge skill gap that is we are seeing a huge skill gap, that is the number of jobs that are existing in the market and the people who could fill those positions are really less. There is a huge gap between them. So cybersecurity is not just an interesting field to work on, it's also a highly uh, it's a field where you could grow professionally a lot. There are a lot variety of different opportunities in cybersecurity itself. Okay, so cybersecurity, if you consider, is a huge domain. There are various different domains that are actually present in the cybersecurity, or we take cybersecurity. So to make it a bit easier, we have divided these topics into 4 different sessions. So week one, that is today, we will be covering security awareness. We'll talk about what cybersecurity is, things that you should know about attacks, how to prevent them. So all these kinds of things you will be talking in this, or today. And on the second week, we will be talking about penetration testing. So uh, penetration testing is a official way of saying, th- uh, you know, we are hacking. Okay, so it's a professional term of saying that we are going to hack into the system. So as an organization, why should I allow somebody to hack into my system? And how that pen testing or penetration testing helps in preventing cyber attacks from happening. So those will be covered in the second week, and in the third week we talk about DevSecOps. So I guess you all know what DevOps is. So in that specific cycle, how we could introduce um, security into that specific cycle as well. So that is what DevSecOps in third week we'll be talking about. And in the fourth week, we will be talking about cloud security. Cloud security right now, so currently, is an important aspect when we talk about security, because most of the applications that we see, or most of the organizations use cloud platform for certain, so like, let it be storing their data, or certain process, they use cloud platform one way or the another to run the specific organization. So securing cloud is also one of the major, or most important aspect of cyber security. So this is how our internship, 4 week internship is going to be about. Okay, so as I told you before, the today we will be talking about what exactly is cybersecurity and things that comes along with it. Okay, so before we talk about cybersecurity, we need to understand what a cyber attack is. So, in a nutshell, cybersecurity is nothing but securing the internet space from cyber attack. So, understanding cyber attacks could give you, it allows you to recognize different patterns. It could help you to anticipate what are all the potential risk that comes along with a cyber attack. Okay, so cyber attack is nothing but intentionally trying to access or destroy or expose unauthorized data. That is, let's say, for an example, there are a lot of cyber attacks that is going on. if we taken in consideration of the latest news and all, the latest biggest attack that happened, cyber attack that happened, was on AT&T. That is, one of the largest telecommunication company in America. So around 73 million or 55 million customer data was actually disclosed, or by cyber attack. Those datas were leaked, and it's in various dark web for sale as well. So if you go ahead and see the specific news regarding AT&T's data breach and all, certain times they might say it's 73 million you customer data. Certain times you will see 51 millions of customer data. It's not consistent. The main reason is because they do not completely disclose what exactly the impact of that specific attack was. For example, if we take the AT&T attack itself, this attack actually happened in 2019. Okay, but they actually disclosed that their organization was, you know, uh, was under an attack, or somebody has breached data. They actually disclosed recently, only around at the end of 2023 and in the beginning of 2024. They actually released that a specific cyber attack has happened, but they have not completely disclosed what the impact, or how many total number of datas have been disclosed, or how many datas have been customer datas have been breached. So this is one of the major issues when it comes to a cyber attack, or a breach from a, like that a breach is happening, mainly because usually your normal customers will not have an idea what exactly, or if their information has been leaked, or the exact number of datas, or the exact informations. They will not put it out in the news, or they will not disclose it. So not only AT&T, there are, like, recently in 2021 there was a LinkedIn breach which resulted in 700 million users. That is around almost 93 percentage of the LinkedIn members. So all the 700 million users sensitive information has been leaked through a data breach. And in 2021 there was an attack that happened on Microsoft. So in this case, in earlier LinkedIn, and in the case of AT&T, here users, customers was affected. But in the case of Microsoft, almost 30,000 organizations, that is, these organizations must have used certain some of their services, certain some of their cloud services. And also here, when an attack happened, different organization was also uh, victim of a, or was affected because of a cyber attack, not just a customer, or not just a specific users. Okay, and around in 48 millions of users was compromised in T-Mobile. And Equifax, that is a credit card firm, credit firms in America. It's really a huge firm, a huge company, a large company. So here, around 143 million Americans social security number. Social security number is an, as you guys would know, it's an important sensitive informations of a specific user. Okay, if hacker or an attacker has a social security number, he could do whatever, and whatever he want. So around 143 million Americans social security number was exposed back in 2017. This is a huge impact because not only a normal, every piece of information is actually sensitive, but in this case a huge piece of sensitive information that could jeopardize a person's identity was actually leaked. And these all informations, or these all user data are actually for sale in dark web. Okay, so this is actually a huge impact in the case of cyber attack. That is, these sensitive informations, the hackers are actually looking for these sensitive informations, which actually uh, creates a huge issue for the organization and the customers who are using their services as well. Okay, so if you go ahead look into their newses regarding certain attacks and all, you will find certain security terms which could cause a big confusion for you. So before getting into cybersecurity, these are the three terms that you should understand, that could make your life easy. It could make you more information, like you could gain more informations about a specific actor, because these three terms can be a bit confusing when we are talking, like talking about a specific news or anything. If you might have seen in a cybersecurity news that a certain event has led to a cyber attack, or there is a data breach that happened. Okay, and in certain times you might find it in news that an incident was recorded in the specific organization. So these three terms, we'll go through what exactly these three terms are. So event, when you see anywhere event, it is nothing but if somebody is actually trying to bypass the security. So in an organization, or let's take an example in a web application, when the website that you use, there might be multiple security uh, instruments, or multiple security measures that they have kept. There might be a firewall, they might have WAF, they might have certain SOC team, certain things will be there. So event is nothing but when an attacker is actually trying to bypass those security measures. Okay, when an attacker is trying to hack into the system, they have not breached any security measures yet. When they are actually trying to hack into the system, when they are actually trying to bypass their specific security measures that they have implemented, that specific, this thing is basically called as event. Okay, so event is nothing but a attempt to bypass security. Then we have incident. So incident is nothing but they have actually bypassed the security measures. Okay, let it be one or more, or the, like as I was saying, there are multiple different security measures an organization actually keeps. When they are actually bypassing the security, certain times attacker can get access or gain access to the target, but in that specific case there are no information that has been leaked. Okay, they are not gained, they have not attained any type of informations yet. So in that is basically what we call as an incident, where the attacker is bypassing the specific security, or security measures inside the application. Certain times one might get access, one might get access into that target, but certain times, if any no data has been compromised yet, that is basically what an information, or sorry, a incident is. So most of the news is that we have talked about earlier, that is AT&T, LinkedIn and all. When you read the news, you will find a word called as breach, data breach. That specific word is nothing but when an attacker has completely bypassed their security aspects, when they have modified the data. See, certain times attack is not just about taking the informations. Okay, most of the certain times it can be something like the if the data has been modified. Okay, if there was any kind of deletion that happened, there were cases where the FBI was actually working on a specific case. Over the night, the organizations which they were actually investigating on was nowhere to be seen. That like no trace of that specific organization was found anywhere. Okay, so somebody has gained access to their server and deleted all the informations regarding that specific organization. So it's not just about the hackers collecting or getting sensitive information. It can also be where the attacker can delete or or modify specific data. So breach happens when the attacker has gained access to the server and they have deleted or modified or fetched, got access to sensitive information or sensitive data. So when that has happened, we call that specific incident as or specific attack as a breach. Okay, so these are the three terms that we see in news all the time. So hope I have got an understanding what these three terms refers to. Okay, so now we can talk about different major types of attacks that happened or is happening in the cyber world right now. So most of the time we see web application attacks that is happening because most of the organizations right now have a website on of their own. Okay, they have sorry. So if I'm starting an organizations to promote my business or if for a specific introduction, I will be having a web application on my own. Certain times I might be connecting that specific server into my local machine itself. Certain times I might host it somewhere, certain use cloud platforms to do certain stuff like whatever it is, but I will be storing certain sensitive informations in my server as well. So web application being the most important aspect for an organization, as the number of organizations are increasing, applications are increasing, attacks to that web applications are increasing also. Okay, so this is the major type of attack that we do see in a day-to-day life, that is attacks against a specific web application. Okay, most of the cyber attacks that we see is through a web application attack. Okay, another type of cyber attack that we see is denial of service. Denial of service is nothing but compromising the availability of the service that an organization is providing. For example, let's say I talked about cloud security, that most of the organizations right now do use different cloud services for running their organization or running their processes. Denial of service is nothing but if we are if the attacker is actually attacking that server, and it's that specific denial of service attack is being performed to that specific server, none of the organizations will be able to use that service. Okay, denial of service in a nutshell, we could simply say that not letting an organization use their servers. For example, in another example, we could say is that uh, let's say I am actually providing storage facilities to specific users or different types of users. I allow them to uh, store their information. Okay, let it be whatever informations I don't like Google Cloud or Google Drive and all, and that specific service or my server will have a limitations on how much of traffic my server can handle. Okay, so what an attacker will do is that it will try to completely, down my system. That is, it will send more traffic than my server can handle. So in that case, obviously my server is going to crash, as mainly because it cannot handle that much of, that much number of traffic at a time. So in that case, my server is going to crash, which will lead to users not being able to access their informations whenever they want. Okay, so that is what a denial of service attack is. This is commonly seen in different types of attacks. Mainly, they will try to do a DOS attack into specific organizations, and they will, their system is going to crash. Okay, so cyber attack using DOS attack, how the organization it is affecting. We could take another example. Let's say our Amazon service. Most of you have used Amazon services, if I'm not wrong. So if, let's say, one day the Amazon service is actually providing a sale. Okay, there is a lot huge discounts uh, that has been provided by Amazon on that specific day. If that whole application is crashed and nobody cannot access that to that application, the number of, monetary losses that Amazon is going to have is huge. Because per minute, all over the world, there are people who are using it, using the services to buy different products. So imagine Amazon is not accessible at all, and people are stopping to order from their service or order from their website. The company could have a huge loss because of DOS attack. So DOS attack is a very important, attack, or very powerful attack that could damage the organization in different ways. That is what a denial of service attack is. So another major type of attack that we see is system intrusion. Okay, system intrusion is nothing but compromising the server to gain different informations. Okay, so that is what a system intrusion actually means. So here, what attackers commonly do is that they use different types of malwares, different
So,
types of viruses.
Vishnu, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you.
No. Yes.
There,
Yeah.
yeah, there is a question from um, Chong Wei. Okay, Ernst
Mhm.
Chong Wei. I hope I pronounced it correct. Anyway, so what parameters do we or can we use to ascertain that the hacker and the program or software use are ethical? To what degree can we say it is an attack, that it is an ethical penetration exercise?
Okay.
Do I need to repeat the question?
No. I actually understood it. So if I'm not wrong, what you are asking whether how could we basically say that the attack that is happening to an organization is ethical or unethical, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. Okay. See, if an ethical penetration exercise is happening to an organizations, they will know it, because without the permission of that specific organization, they cannot perform an ethical pen testing. Okay, see, when we talk about cyber attack, the attacks that they are doing is not something that the organization actually knows about, that somebody is going to attack, or they do not take permissions and all. So for an ethical pen testing to happen, there are different procedures that a pen tester has to follow. So if there is an ethical pen testing exercise that is happening into an organization, the organizations will be knowing that the specific attack is because or from an ethical penetration testing. The specifics, certain measures will be taken by the organizations to allow this to happen. I hope I have answered your question.
I
Yes, I think you have. I think for now, if any others arise, we'll see as it proceeds.
Okay, okay. Feel free to ask any doubts you're having. Okay, so
thank you, Vishnu.
yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so as I was saying, system intrusion.
Vishnu, if you are having some issues with your throat,
Uh-huh.
if it is a dry one, so you can have some water.
Oh, it's I'm having some cold issues, so
Okay, okay,
that's
no problem. Please,
yeah.
please. Sorry for this actually trouble.
Oh, no, 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 that's not an issue. It's
Okay, carry on.
I should be the one who should apologize. I've been coughing up
No,
in
not at all, not at all. Our actually the participants are very matured and they have a lot of patience. They tolerate us every weekend, so they are used to it. Okay,
okay.
carry on. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Okay, so let's come back to what we were talking about. So, as I was saying, system intrusion is, one of the major type of cyber attack that happen. So, earlier when we talked about different, attacks that happened on AT&T or LinkedIn and all, they happened through a system intrusion. Okay, so they have completely gained access to the servers or access to the database through different kinds of malware, or there are different types of hacking where they try to achieve their objective. Okay, so they hack into the system, they gain control, or they compromise the complete system, and then they try to, or get a lot of information that is actually situated, or placed inside that specific server. So system intrusion in a nutshell, we could say that when an attacker is actually compromising the server to obtain a lot of information, then we could call that a system intrusion attack. Okay, so another one which I have not mentioned here is something called as social engineering attack. Recent days, recent times, we do see social engineering attack, causing a huge threat, mainly because social engineering is nothing but human manipulation, that is trying to psychologically manipulating people, and asking them to perform a specific action. For example, let's say phishing emails. Okay, so if a person is actually working in a remote area from their hometown, if I could find more information about their hometown, or the places which they actually go on a day-to-day basis, and craft a specific email stating that you have got certain number, like percentage of off from this uh to this coffee shop, or like it's certain, sometimes they actually go somewhere else, or the shopping uh sites, or the place where they actually grocery shop, so those kinds of stuff. So if I give a, like make a personalized email with that specific information, giving discount, or that organization is actually giving a discount for to that specific thing. Obviously, if people are going to look into that. Okay, so they will actually click into the link that which they have provided. They will ask you a set of different informations. They will ask you to log into your certain websites, Gmail, or Hotmail, or whatever, or try to ask them to put in your credit card informations for processing this this thing. So people actually fall into these kinds of phishing mail. Okay, so sorry. So it is not that they are not aware, they are not aware, certain times these phishing email or which they receive, if it is custom, like a attacker can dig more into a group of people, or dig more into that specific organization, or specific person. The amount of personalized data that an attacker can craft for a phishing email is kind of huge. Okay, so recent times, that attack that happened on Twitter, was actually caused by social engineering attack. The higher ups, the people who are handling sensitive data or sensitive informations inside Twitter, the attacker actually tried to he did a social engineering attack on these higher ups in Twitter, which actually helped the attacker to gain into their internal server, and from there he started digging or escalating from there, which led to a huge cyber attack that happened on Twitter, mainly because a lot of VIPs account was compromised. A lot of customer users money was actually stolen because of that. So yes, a simple manipulation of human, that is, let's say you have all the security measures inside a inside a specific organization. You have proper WAF, your web application is properly secured. Okay, you have a proper SOC team that is actually monitoring your network 24/7. If somebody is actually trying to attack, you will actually find that attack before they escalate. So let's say you have implemented all these security measures in your organization, but there is one thing that attackers use a lot, that is the human factor. Okay, humans, like, they try to manipulate its that specific human, or that specific person, to perform unauthorized access. So social engineering attack is also a huge factor that could cost the company a huge lot of money. Okay, so if we look into the patterns, okay, that is how the attacks are happening. Okay, we could understand how this is a lot, cyber security, like they said, how the cyber attack is actually happening. If we could see the patterns, we will get an idea. That is, this is the pattern, as you can see on the screen, of the incident that happened in the last 7 years. Okay, so which are, like, due to which attack uh, that specific incident has occurred. So like in each year, or how did that actually vary? So as you can see on the data, the common patterns, denial of service is actually on the top. Okay, so just a minute, please. Okay, so denial of service is actually standing on the top for the past couple of years right now, as mainly because, as I told you, denial of service is nothing but sending millions and billions of data packets per second, which actually a lot more of the traffic which the attacker, or sorry, the server can handle. So these days there are cloud infrastructures which actually help in DOS attack a lot more, mainly because there are a lot of social, stolen credentials of, let's say Azure clouds, or Amazon cloud systems and all, which they could create a lot of systems. Okay, lot of operating systems, and program it in a way where at a time, same time, all those different systems are going to attack that specific server at a time. That is, per second, the amount of traffic those systems can generate is very huge. Okay, so as the cloud infrastructure is growing up, attackers use that specific cloud infrastructure to create different instances of operating systems and perform a DOS attack into that specific server. Okay, as you can see over here, the web application attacks are actually reduced in the past couple of days, sorry, past couple of years. By 2023, it actually stands in the fourth place, mainly because this dip happened because of the security measures that the professionals has been taken to prevent an attack from happening. Okay, so there is actually a question from Priyam. Okay, shouldn't the cloud providers be designed in a way to tackle DOS attack? See, certain security measures are in place to prevent DOS attack from happening. Okay, let it be certain servers, or load balancers are there, firewalls are there, but certain times, as the technology is actually growing up, certain preventions can't be bypassed. Okay, so as I told you before, the amount of instance that an attacker can create in these cloud platforms are quite huge. There they don't have any limitations, or how many number of instance they could create. Okay, so they just have to pay money. So when those instances, let's say a lot of people are actually creating multiple different instances in different accounts and targeting a single server, that might be an issue. There are, certain mitigations to prevent DOS attack from happening, but certain times attackers do bypass those security measures. Okay, but see, there is nothing called as 100% secure. Okay, we cannot, or we can never say that our websites, or our servers are 100% secured. Okay, if an hacker want to hack into that specific system, he will hack it. The maximum what we could do is making that process really hard. Okay, so as I told before, there are mitigations, that prevention step organizations do take for those DOS attack from happening, but certain times it do get bypassed. Like, it's as I told you, technology is growing up exponentially. There are different mitigation steps that has been brought up, but like, as the technology is growing, there are ways where people could try to bypass those mitigation steps as well. I hope I have answered your question, Priyam. Okay, great. Okay, so as I was saying, so the dip in the security attacks that is happening on these web application is mainly because there are a lot of pen testers. Mainly, I work in web application pen testing a lot. Okay, so the amount of checks that we do, the amount of security tasks that we do or perform in a specific web application is quite a lot. Okay, uh, because of that, as I told you before, I cannot, or nobody can say that security is 100%, like that web application is 100% secure. But when we are performing a specific pen testing, we could reduce the number of attacks, or chances of getting a data breach from is quite less. Because most of the security aspects, sorry, bugs or vulnerabilities, we find it out. We work along with the along with the developers to fix that specific vulnerability. And it's really quite hard when a web application is actually pen tested and it's in live. Hacking that is really hard, but not impossible. Okay, so that is the reason why here we do see a dip in application web application security, and system intrusion and denial of service attacks are at the top in the past few years. Okay, so this is how the pattern, or in the past years, how incidents have been happened. So in this incident they have bypassed. Okay, so in this case DOS attack, in the case of DOS attack, they do not help the organization, or sorry, the attacker to gain any sensitive information. Okay, they are actually crashing that system. Okay, so in the incident pattern of incident, no specific data has been leaked. It is just that they have tried to bypass the specific security mechanism that has been implemented in those applications. Okay, so if we look at the patterns of breach, system intrusion, web application attack, and social engineering attack. Okay, these three are the major ones which actually caused a data breach from happening. Okay, even though, as I told you before, the number of attacks that is happening to a web application is less, but if an attacker is actually gaining access to the web applications, that will be leading to a breach to happen. Once they have access to that specific web application, they could gain access, or escalate their privileges, which could lead to a system intrusion, which the attacker will escalate from there, try to gain access to the server. Once that is done, they will get different, a lot of informations. Not just because of web application a system intrusion attack is happening, because there are multiple different services that a specific server might run, due to which attacker could use those specific services, not just web application attacks, but those additional services that the server is running. Using that, attacker can bypass that specific or gain access to that specific server to collect a lot of information. Okay, so here, as you can see, DOS is actually not present. Okay, mainly because like using DOS, or DOS does not, as I told you before, DOS does not cause a data leak or a breach to happen. It is just that they have crashed that system, or it caused the app server affect their availability. That is what a DOS does. That is why in the pattern of breach you do not see a DOS attack. Okay, so here the top three is system intrusion, uh, basic web application attack, and the third one is social engineering attack. As I told you before, the number of attacks that is happening because of a specific social social engineering attack is quite huge. Okay, so this is the pattern of breaches that has been happening in the past couple of years. Certain
So,
years, yes.
so Vishnu, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Okay, so by looking at this pattern, can
Mhm.
we infer something that it is good for our students, that we can visualize a
Mhm.
huge demand of cybersecurity personnel who
Mhm.
can handle this, because maybe today the miscellaneous errors are on the downside, but tomorrow suddenly this can come up, can overtake the basic web applications. So overall, what we see is the danger is not yet averted, even if though there is so many technology that is coming up with cyber security as tool, but still the hackers are a bit one step ahead.
Exactly.
Okay, so there would be a demand of our there is the knowledgeable guys required in this industry. Don't you think so?
Yeah, definitely. I would, definitely say that, mainly because, as you can see, not just about the miscellaneous error as well. In the case of, the attacks that is happening against the web application is also quite high. Or,
Quite high. Yeah.
system, yeah, and in the case of system intrusion is also quite high. Okay, see, the best way to prevent that from happening is, implementing pen testing, making sure that there is no way for an attacker to gain access into, or have access to any of these system intrusion or a web application. That is the main reason why, as I initially when I started the session, I told you, like, there is a huge gap that is actually organizations want to fill. So mainly because
So that is my
the
point, is that
yeah,
this particular pattern of breaches gives us a lot of motivation to teach our students correctly that there would be demand, and there is also a demand, there is also a current demand of.
yes,
So people should be taking this subject very seriously.
yeah, definitely. I would definitely, side with your point. Another aspect which I could say why cybersecurity is it's a booming industry is because the amount of growth in the case of technology is it's exponentially growing a lot. Okay, so as the technologies are growing, the amount of vulnerabilities that arises due to that is actually growing along with it, and
Exactly.
the attack that is happening on a day-to-day basis is also increasing a lot. Okay, in 2019, the number of attack worldwide, if you check the data that has happened between 2009 and 2024, the graph actually is going in 90-degree. Okay, number of attack that is happening to any organizations, or let's say a cyber attack that is happening, it's quite high.
Mhm.
Okay, so as the number of attacks is growing up, there need to be people who should be prepared for preventing that attack from happening, and making sure that no attack is happened from that specific organization. So yes, I do stand with your point where cybersecurity, I think it's a field where it's fun to work. Also, it's a never ending process. You will not, like, I would say, if you have the proper skill sets, organizations will be wanting to hire you.
Right, right. Thank you, Vishnu.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so we till now we have talked about uh, you know different aspects of cyber attack that happened, how different types of attack that an attacker uses. So all these things we have discussed. Now it's time for us to understand what exactly is cyber security. Okay, cyber security is nothing but how, or it defines on how we could protect the cyberspace, that is the internet, or whatever that has been connected to the internet. So that specific cyberspace, how we could protect that. Okay, so what all measures, or what all things we could do to protect our sensitive data. So that is what a cyber security is actually, or what it is defined. Okay, so security as a whole, we could say that it's like an onion. Okay, so there are multiple different layers of security implementations that we could do. Okay, so as I told you before, nothing is 100% sure, secure. We could only make the the attacker, or somebody is trying to hack into the servers or the organization, we could make it bit hard to hack to the system. So that is what cybersecurity is actually is what it is actually defining. Okay, so as I told you before, there are multiple different layers in the case of security. So okay, so there is actually a question. So would I be correct to assume that the rise in cyber attack is also facilitated by the rise in use and implementation of AI? Thus, I think there is a dire demand in cybersecurity and AI stacked SWE. Yeah, exactly. So what you said is actually right. The amount of cyber attack that is happening is exponentially huge. If you could, look down the data on the number of attacks that has happened for the past couple of years, you will be astonished on how that cyber attack, the growth in attack was. So that is the main reason why there is a huge boom in the cyber industry right now. And along with that, as you told, yes, the implementation of AI, it is not, in a full-fledged way right now, cyber attack happening due to AI, but it's definitely is a major issue that certain attacks is happening because of AI itself. Okay, so once a full-fledged implementation of AI is also has, like, if that is also happening, then the amount of attacks is definitely going to increase. There is no doubt in that. I hope I have answered your question. Okay, great. Okay, so as I was told you, so as I was telling, security is like onion. We have different different types of layers, that different types of measures that we do take for securing the sensitive data. The main, certain times people have told me why there is in a need of implementing multiple security measures in our securing applications. So these questions have arisen a lot of times. So certain times, let's say you have some valuable item in your hand. Let's say it can be a huge amount of cash, or jewelries, ornaments. No, let it be. So whatever, you have a lot of huge amount of valuable items with you, which does cost a lot of money. So just because you have a lock in your home, prevent an robber to come and rob into your house and take it. So just because you have a lock in your home, it doesn't mean that you will be keeping that your highly valuable ornament where everybody can see it. You will be putting it in a specific locker, right? Or certain times you might give it to a certain bank to keep it in a locker, or in a wallet, where there are a huge security things are there. But like, let's come back to the house situation. So you will be keeping it in a lock, which might have password, or a pin or a card to unlock it. Then you will be locking your house. Okay, and in multiple houses in America, I would say there are thief protections that has been implemented. If somebody is actually trying to break into your house, an alarm goes out, notifies the police over there. So those are the things we have implemented, even though we have a lock system. in the front door of our house. Okay, so we just like that, just implementing a single security measures will not prevent an attack from happening. You will be needing multiple different layers of security that needs to be implemented for a proper secured environment. So that is what cyber security does. There are multiple different departments, or multiple different ways where a security implementation can happen, and cybersecurity is the field where it defines those different layers. Okay, so when we talk about cybersecurity, these are the main things that actually defines cybersecurity. We call it as three pillars of cybersecurity. That is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That is CIA triad of cyber security. Okay, so CIA triad is nothing but the fundamental blocks of cybersecurity. Confidentiality is simply, we could say that without my permission, nobody should access my specific or sensitive data. That is what confidentiality means. Okay, making sure that nobody is accessing my personal or my sensitive data without my permission, until and unless I actually give access or authorized that person to access, nobody should not access that specific data. That is what confidentiality is. Okay, integrity is nothing but making changes to the data I have, okay, without my permissions or unauthorized changes of data. That is what integrity is defining. Availability is nothing but making sure the service that I am providing is available to me, or available to the user whenever they need. Okay, so in this case, availability, we could give an example like certain cases and all, if we give a wrong password while logging into an application. I have well, let's say in the case of Facebook, I guess I'm not sure whether this feature is there in Facebook or not. But while logging into an application, if there is a feature where if we give out incorrect passwords multiple different times, 3 to 4 times, the account is locked. Then we need to follow different steps to unlock that account. Okay, so availability is like when we could say availability is hit, if availability is affected, we could simply say that when an attacker is actually trying to lock their account by entering passwords multiple times. So that is what availability would be affected. In the case of integrity, we could say certain times in an organization level, there might be different sensitive data. That is the plan, certain plan how they should do a specific business. Okay, certain contracts will be there. Making sure that those kinds of informations are not changed. That is what a hit to an integrity, or integrity effect. If we say integrity is affected, we actually refer to that. Confidentiality is nothing but we could take an example like if I have created uh, a software from scratch for performing some stuff, and without my permission, if any other company is actually using that piece of software, for their own monetary benefits, then I could say, confidentiality has been hit. So these are the, general examples that I could give for defining what confidentiality, integrity, and availability is. Okay, further moving into pen testing and, into like, moving into the going deeper into cybersecurity, these three would be playing an important role in that whole domain. Okay, so when an attack is happening, a hit could, affect any of the three or all of the three. When we actually say a DOS attack is happening, we could say the availability has been hit. Okay, it has caused, in this case, an availability has been affected. Okay, but in certain cases, there might be in the certain breaches and all, we would say security breach. If any of the three has been affected, we could say that it is a security breach. Okay, but if a complete breach, or no, if we want to say that a complete breach has been happened, is when all of these three components has been affected. Then and then only we will be able to state that a complete breach has been happened. Okay, so that is what, CIA triad is actually. Okay, and another aspect of this is authentication and authorization. Okay, who you are and what you are. Okay, let's say you are actually logging into Instagram or any social media account. Okay, you use your username and password. You might have two-factor authentication, okay, OTP verification or anything. So you use it, you verify yourself, and you are accessing your own profile. That is what authentication is. Making sure that the person who is accessing that piece of information is the owner of that sensitive information. That is who you are. Okay, verifying that the person claiming that specific account belongs to is the actual owner of that specific account. That is what a authentication defines. Okay, so identifying ourselves in an application is basically called as authentication. Then comes who you are, what you are. Okay, so when you actually access Instagram, you will have only access to your own information. Okay, you can delete your account, you can, access your own data, you can share whatever you want to anybody you want, but you will not be able to access any admin functionalities of that, or that Instagram. Okay, so that is what authorization is defining. Okay, making sure the data what you are accessing is intended for you alone. Okay, making sure that you are not actually accessing any of the unauthorized data. Okay, which if it is happening, which causes unauthorized access, which we will talk in the next slide. Okay, but yeah, in a nutshell, authentication and authorization is an important aspect when we talk about cybersecurity. Okay, making sure that I cannot access any other person's account or any other person's sensitive information. That is where that is what authentication and authorization is actually defining. So in the case of certain organizations, if you take an example, uh, there might be a lot of you know access control that has been given to a specific employee. The person who has just joined as a fresher will be having limited access to their IT infrastructure. Okay, or to the to the task which they could perform will be very limited. Okay, but a person who is an IT admin, the person who has the highest authority, will be having more access. So here we are making sure that a low level employee does not have access to a high level employee's functionalities and all. So that is what, in an organization level perspective, what an authentication and authorizations can be implemented. Okay, so as I told you before, unauthorized access. So unauthorized access is nothing but, as I told you before, authorization actually helps us to limit or restrict the actual access, or restrict the access that that specific user might have. Okay, so as I told you before, there are a lot of restricted access when we actually talk about an organization. Okay, there might be a low level employee has very limited amount of access controls with them. The number of tasks they perform will be very limited, but unauthorized access is something like, when they access those restricted things, restricted data or restricted functionality. So when a person is actually accessing any restricted informations, we could say that an unauthorized access has been happened. Okay, here the major aspect we could say in the case of unauthorized access is accountability. Okay, mainly because we have discussed what an phishing attack is. We will send a personalized, the attacker will be sending a personalized message to an employee, okay, by downloading their files, or when they're performing that task given into them, given by them to the attacker, their internal network might be compromised. Okay, here, which could lead to an unauthorized access. If the attacker is actually targeting a specific manager, the access that the manager will be having is quite huge. Okay, the attacker can perform whatever they want. Okay, so here the main issue is that when this specific attack has happened, using phishing attack has happened, the attacker has gained like unauthorized access, there will be certain users where they will not take accountability into consideration. They will not be owing up to their mistake. Most of the phishing attack that happened in the recent days, that is happened because the employees have given the credentials to an unknown person. Okay, so using that, or certain times somebody is actually, an attacker can throw a USB stick outside their organization. Let's say some employee of that specific organization gets that pen drive, connects to the system, and yep, the attacker has actually got or gain unauthorized access into the system. Okay, so I hope you guys understood what unauthorized access is defining, or what exactly we talk in the case of an unauthorized access. Okay, so right now we talked about cyber attack from happening, data breaches that is caused. uh, yes, like flipper zero, more like rubber ducky, or flipper zero is, sorry, like Priyam has asked a question, if that when I talked about the USP, uh attack is asking whether flipper zero like flipper zero. So it's not like flipper zero. Flipper zero is a tool that has been used by a attacker or a pen tester. Okay, so we could do many different things using flipper zero, and most of the times I don't think that like the attackers will be using a flipper zero for these kinds of attack. What they will do is that they will be putting a hidden malware in that specific USB disk, device. It will be normal, regularly used USB device. It will be something like, somebody has lost it. So somebody has, lost it along the way they are traveling. So they will make changes to something similar to what you see on a day-to-day life. I don't think Flipper Zero will be used because Flipper Zero is quite different from an actual USB. The way it actually like the design of it, and uh, the way it is, it's quite evident. It is not a normal USB to anybody who is actually accessing or have a Flipper Zero. They will be knowing it is not a regular USB. It's something capturing the signals of software defined. Harshit, I'm really sorry I didn't understand what you are saying actually. Harshit, the question that you have just dropped in the chat, I didn't quite understand what you're actually referring to. Capturing the signals of software defined for hacking signals. Flipper Zero, so you're referring to Flipper Zero, right? It's used for hacking signals. That is what you're saying. Okay, so it is not just about hacking signals. Yes, it definitely can be used for hacking signals as well, but there are different aspects of Flipper Zero. It is not, yes, definitely it is majorly used for hacking signals and all, creating a uh, dangerous proxy and all these kinds of things is happening. But yeah, it's not just limited to radio signal hacking. It's quite more than that. It can be used for gaining unauthorized access. If you have a physical access to any of the servers, you could use it to gain access to that. It's Flipper Zero is an amazing tool which a lot of pen testers and hackers actually use this for a lot of stuff. Okay, any more doubts, anyone? Okay. Okay, so let's continue from where we have left. So as I was saying, we were actually talking about cybersecurity as a whole, what exactly is cybersecurity, different attacks that can happen, and all these shenanigans we were actually talking about. So there is still a question that is pending, that what is the motive? Why are attackers actually hacking, or want these data? What is their purpose of doing that? You need to understand that also. Okay, so there are multiple motives a hacker can have to hack into the system. The most 90 percentage of the hackers to hack into the system have a motive, or they want money, financial gain. Okay, so the 2017 in 2017 there was a huge attack that happened called as WannaCry ransomware attack. it was really huge that many of the organization had to shut down their business. Okay, so WannaCry ransomware, what exactly that is? Once it has gained access to your server, it is going to encrypt your whole data. Okay, you will not be able to access any informations. For example, in the case of medical sectors, okay, all the medical information about that specific patient will be in the internet. They have to access, let it be x-ray images, previous prescriptions that they have given, CT images, okay, previous the whole history of that specific all that specific informations will be stored in the server. Imagine there is a critical emergency to that specific patient and all those datas are encrypted. Okay, so you will not be able to access that without a specific key. So ransomware attack in a nutshell, we could say that when an attacker is actually encrypting all the data, all the files in your system, and they will ask for money in return. Okay, they want monetary benefits. They will ask if you want to decrypt. Okay, it uses a specific key to decrypt that. So I want this much millions of dollars. Okay, then only I will give you the that specific decryption key to unlock your data. So in those specific, emergency instances, there is nothing other than, paying the attackers money and getting the key from them so that they could unlock those data. So in 2017, the incident which I have just said, that happened a lot around the globe. The organization which was, the number of organization which was affected by a WannaCry ransomware was considerably really huge. Okay, at that time, a lot of like number of amount was lost for the organization. Okay, so around 90 percentage of the attackers have money in mind when they actually hack. Okay, not everybody will be behind money or for financial gain. Certain some actors does hacking for act as an activist. So this specific type of hackers are mostly seen in industries where something is actually causing environmental damages. Certain times certain oil companies like what attackers does is that if there is an oil leak or it's if it is an environmental hazard, something they are doing which is affecting the environment, they will actually hack into the system. They will capture sensitive informations. They will actually blackmail that person too, or blackmail that organization stating that we have all these kinds of information, stop what you're doing, or we are going to publicly release these sensitive informations. So those informations might be certain secrets or something they have might have done. Yeah, so activist is something who doesn't have any monetary benefit in mind and trying to do the right thing. So that is what activists are. Okay, then we have not something called as national security. Okay, so there are top-notch hackers who work directly under every governments. Okay, let it be FBI, or NSI. So all these in certain big companies or investigative agencies, they will be having a hacker. Okay, so as we told you before, they do not, secure data. They are not cybersecurity professionals. They are proper hackers who hack into different, person, or trying to get evidence, or hack into specific target. They are actually sponsored by the country itself. Okay, so these are the person, like these are proper hackers. Okay, they, like what we have talked, the person, like people who are actually performing a cyber crime. National security hackers are the people who are similar to those kinds of people, which they will be hacking, illegally hacking into their target, but they have been, they have permission from the country. They are, paid by the country to do that. So those type of, hackers are there. Then espionage, or corporate espionage, that is the competitors of your organization is going to try to hack into your organization, trying to access, let's say you are actually getting ready for a new product launch. Hackers are definitely, competitive companies are definitely going to try to hack into your system and gain access or blueprints of those specific products. So that is what, espionage is. And another type of attacker, or motive, attacking motive can be personal revenge. They do not, have any money. They might not have any money minded person. They will not be a money minded person, but they want to take revenge on a specific person. They might have, done something to personally to them, personal vendetta. So when those kinds of stuff happens, actually, so they wanted to take revenge onto that specific person. So that is what a personal revenge. This also can be a motivation for hackers to hack into system. Okay, so so we actually talked about, what are all the motives of a hacker to hack into the system. So when an attack is being happened, certain time a single person will be performing that hackers, performing that attack. Sorry. So okay, sorry about that. Okay, so as I was saying, bad actors, attackers can be a single person, or they can be a part of an organization, or they can be under a nation. That is, they work under a specific country. So individual, it's self-explanatory. That is, when I am actually, like, I am the only person, I work alone, I want to hack into a system, I perform the hacking procedures, and I try to gain access to the system, and yeah, I alone can do it. Then they have something called as organized crime. Like, the companies that we see on a day-to-day basis, that is, Amazon, or let's say any big top-notch MNC companies. So there is an hierarchy of, what all people, like, the designation of different peoples, different levels of authority. So similar to that, there are an organizations which actually perform different crimes. There are huge syndicates that function as a organization and try to hack into the or try to perform a cyber attack. Okay, so let me clarify one thing. A proper cyber attack that has been happened, or when we take an example of a cyber attack that has happened, we will not be able to know when they have started the attack. Okay, it's really hard to pinpoint when they have actually started an attack. Okay, certain times there might be an organization that is behind that specific crime. So they will split, like give out different responsibilities for different people. Certain people will be really good at reconnaissance, that is gathering informations about that specific organization. Okay, certain hackers will be really good at finding out vulnerability, hacking into the system. Okay, another hacker will be really good at bypassing security measures, or certain other hackers will be really good at uh, hiding themselves from any firewalls, or those kinds of stuff will be there. So they actually work together, which will result in a proper cyber attack, where no traces will be there. Okay, when an attack has happened or attack is happening, they're like the chances of finding that is quite, like in the earlier days I'm talking about, was quite less, because these different people are actually working together, where detections will be really hard. But right now it's not the case. We have 24/7 SIEM or SOC team which actually works around the clock monitoring different brackets. So it's nitty gritties we'll be talking about in a later session. Okay, so apart from along with organized crime, there are hackers who are sponsored by the government. As I told you before, national security hackers. Okay, they actually have the permission to hack their targets if in need. If it is a government need, they will be hacking into the target and all. So national state, if I want to give an example, I would say the recent event that has happened, that is the Russian Ukraine war that has happened. Initially, before physical attack was happening, there were Russian hackers, government professional hackers, who try to gain access to their communication, blocked all the communication in the whole Ukraine. So that actually happened. So those kinds of people who are actually working directly under the government for their government processes, those type of hackers are also existing in this space. Okay, so any doubts as of now? Okay, great. So uh, as I told you before, certain as the technologies are evolving, the cyber threats, the type, like the way the attack is happening also has evolved a lot. As you can see, initially it was just a physical theft. That is, you have some money in you with you, a robber will be robbing you up. That is, that happened in the earlier days. Then internet was a boom. So people started, using web applications and all. Then denial of service came into action. Okay, then email attacks. Personalized email will be sent for social engineering purposes to that specific user or a set of employees. Email attacks was happening. Then malware attack. Malware attack is nothing but a type of virus, I guess you might have seen people using cracked version of different application, because just because, like, it's really hard for them to pay for that software, so they go to an alternative, which is, cracked software. So attackers, what they actually do is that they will actually place a malware. Okay, that is a malicious software behind that actual software. So when it is actually installing, attackers will be able to perform different functionalities, or gain access to that specific user system. From there, botnets came into place. Botnet attacks are, it's mainly used for uh, DOS attack, that is denial of service attack. So initially I told you that, server has a limit. Certain websites, that limit will be quite huge. Okay. Before that, cloud infrastructure was actually bought up. People, attackers used to use bot attacks. So using malware, they are going to convert your system into a bot. Okay, and perform a DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack. That is, if my system and let's say another 100 system has been affected with a bot, they are going to use that specific bot, they and get access or control our system. So once they have control our system, they are going to perform a DOS attack to each and every different systems that they have installed that bot into. Okay, so those kinds of attacks was evolved. Then social attack, that is, social engineering attack. It is no social engineering attack. It's not just about email attacks. Okay, there are different ways where people actually gain access to this different organization. A prime example of social attack is, here, like, in the cybersecurity world, there is a person called as Kevin Metnick, a most reputed cybersecurity professional, like, the world has seen till now. So he is the person, could gain access to anything he want. So he used to say in one of his talks, so he used to say that, most of the time he has gained physical access to the servers is because he have the ability to interact with the people and manipulate them. Certain times he is going to befriend an employee. Okay, impersonate him as an actual employee of that employee of an organization who is actually working in a different department. He's going to interact with that specific person. He's going to go inside using his access control. From there, he's going to, escalate his privilege, escalate his access. Then he'll reach the server room. So he's actually told that specific thing in a talk show, where you have said, social engineering attack is something that is never going to die. It's evolving on on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So social engineering attack happened. Then, after that, AI assisted attacks. Okay, AI was introduced a couple of years before. It is used really well for, let's say, whatever department or domain that we are working on. But as the technologies are growing, AI is implemented everywhere. That could also mean that AI implement, like, assisted attacks, okay, is going to be a huge threat in the coming years. Okay, so this is what how, the history, or, the attacks have evolved in the in a couple of, in those specific years. Okay, so to, cybersecurity is not, just about attacks or those kinds of stuff. It's not all about blocking an attack. Okay, it has a lot of other It's more like how to prevent an attack also. It is a protective solutions. Okay, how we could prevent and protect and making sure that an attack is not happening. So that is what cybersecurity solutions actually refers to. So for this we have multiple different components that we have included. So some like cyber tools, that is different types of tools that aid in this specific process. Then processes, that is how we do our task on a day-to-day basis, or let's say how we handle our specific data on a day-to-day basis. So defining that process. Then we have people that which are prone to a social engineering attack, so making sure that we are giving them a proper security training. Making sure that they do not give or the importance of access control, importance of the data that they are handling. So all these kinds of training giving to people. Then we have something called as BCDR solutions, business continuity and disaster recovery solutions. That is, this comes into play when an actually data breach has happened. So when a data breach has happened, BCDR solutions help in what exactly are the steps we need to follow to or needs to be done once a data breach has happening. Then comes assessment. Okay, making sure that adequate security measures have been implemented uh, in that organization. So these are all the things that could help in securing from a cyber attack. Okay, so as the attack has been evolved, security solutions has also evolved along with it. We initially for to prevent physical theft, locks were implemented. Okay, then to prevent a DOS attack from happening, firewall was implemented. Okay, then antiviruses was brought up. Then pen testing process, making sure that there is any issues or vulnerabilities in that application, making sure that that is there using a pen testing. Then SAT, that is security awareness training. This helps in the prevention of social engineering attack. Then SOC, that is SOC, EDR, endpoint detection. So these are the people, or these are the steps where 24/7 they will be monitoring that whole traffic and making sure that there is no attack that is happening. Okay, so these are all the like security solutions that we could implement in the application. So it is not just you have to give importance to just one. For a proper security, we should be implementing all. Everything should be implemented to a better secure, or to making sure that everything is actually secured. Okay, so when we actually talk about unauthorized access, or attackers actually hacking into the system, these are the ways where they will be trying to gain accesses, that is credentials, phishing and exploits. Okay, attackers actually gets, or get hands on specific credentials, either using social engineering attack or from a compromised data. For example, let's say you have logged into any of the application. Let's say earlier days your data was along with the breach that happened with LinkedIn. Okay, then your sensitive data was actually leaked. So if you use that same password everywhere, that is going to create an issue. Okay, hackers finding those information is for them, it's quite easy. Okay, but yes, using those credentials, reusing passwords everywhere could lead to attackers gaining access, as because they already have a data on what all passwords you might have used in different websites. If we are using that same passwords, that could lead to a, an attacker could gain access through that. Next is phishing. Okay, phishing is nothing but sending email asking them for sensitive informations. Let's say you have gained $100 vouchers from Amazon. Log into your Amazon credentials. There will be a login page. You put in your username, passwords, and everything. Then attackers will get your username and password. Another type of way an attackers gain access is exploits. Okay, so if the organization or if the company is actually using any outdated components or outdated softwares and all, uh, yeah, so those outdated softwares will be having any say some security flaws which could lead to an exploit. So using that security flaws, they will try to gain access. So to prevent a credentials so the cost of credentials from gaining access, we could use multi-factor authentication or implement multi-factor authentication to every single applications that we use. To avoid a phishing attack from happening, we could train the employees or implement a email filters, okay, in your corporate emails, which could avoid a lot of phishing attacks. Exploits, to avoid it, uh, you could update when a proper update is actually released, making sure that you are on the right version of that application. Okay, so as I told you, WannaCry ransomware, so it happened due to another vulnerability which SMB had in earlier days, basically called as an eternal blue vulnerability of SMB version 1. So when the Microsoft was aware of this specific vulnerability, they released the patch for that, but most of the organization did not update that patch, due to which those organizations was affected by a WannaCry ransomware. Okay, so so the amount of attack that is actually happening a lot in the recent cases is mainly because of the companies that are not making sure that security is an important aspect. Most of the organization does just do certain checks to pass their audit, but they do not take security seriously. Okay, so so here I told you about eternal blue vulnerability, which was actually caused by SMB version 1. Initially SMB, many they did not believe that SMB will be a cause for a cyber attack from happening. But if there is a data, there is any valuable data, then you are a target. Because of this, companies lost around 10.3 billion in losses. Okay, see the main issue why organizations are like affected hugely financially, mainly because is that there are strict laws in America and in the Europe regions when a cyber attack is happening. Certain fines has to be paid, and there is need to be certain compensation that is also should be paid to that to the specific users as well. Okay, so so this is the main reason why companies actually it is not just about they do not care about their security aspect as well. They mostly are trying to making sure that business gets more priority. Their business is more giving importance to business, not on security. They will make sure that their business is actually running smoothly. Okay, but they do not care about security. Another way why companies are actually having an issue is because they might be growing exponentially. Okay, so initially when they have started their organization, they might have put certain implementation, security implementation, but as they grew, the technologies that they use will be growing up exponentially as well, but they do not grow their measures accordingly. So that is also can be an issue where companies actually struggle in the case of security. Another reason is because lack of knowledge, to not having a proper idea on how to secure the organization, or not having a proper idea on knowledge of the security can also have an issue. Certain times you can be a target, your organization can be a target, that certain business owners will not have a good this thing on your organization and want you to suffer a huge loss. So that is also an issue where security can be companies are actually struggling in the case of security. Okay. So the main reason why security is falling when we are initially and Mr. Debasis were actually discussing, we were actually talking about different points where it cybersecurity field is actually growing up exponentially. The main reason is because security is failing. The measures or the implementation that they are implementing is not enough. They need more people. Okay, they need more talented people to fill in those positions. Okay, from that specific that attack from happening, I don't know, if you are getting targeted, if you want to make sure that your organization is protected from cyber attack, it is making sure that you have proper staffing. Okay, you have proper people who know about cyber security in general, or cyber security as a professional. So in those cases and all, there are not a lot of people who can fill up, not a lot of people, or not a lot of people, skilled people who could get into cybersecurity, or they could hire. So that is the main reason where they are not able to find up proper talents, or proper people to fill in those gaps. So initially there were cases where managers used to say they used to have to they have to interview people for around 6 months to one fill in. Okay, so fill for one position. So that is the way how this specific market is actually going on. Okay, so it is not just that cybersecurity, if you have a job, if you learn the cybersecurity, you will be paying, you will be getting less pay. It's not that. Okay, cybersecurity professionals, the job market is actually increasing a lot. So as per a new survey that was published, the cybersecurity market, as you can see on the screen, it's by 2026, it is expected to increase by $270 billion market. Okay, so the opening positions that are going to come in the coming years are quite huge, but there are not a lot of people who could fill that specific position. So if mainly because, as we have already discussed, the number of attack that is happening is quite huge. But another main reason is mainly because of compliance requirement. So government have an idea, or are let's say they are aware that certain attacks are growing. People, or users are the one who is actually suffering. Their sensitive data are actually going up. So they have started implementing strict compliances. Really, if you are having e-commerce site, if you are running certain services, these are all the things you should implement. So those kinds of things are there. Okay, so there are actually strict instructions that is given directly from the government ends, which does not, like, if it is not in par with their requirements, then you have to close their company and work on that security aspect, then continue to resume your services. So this is the main reason why the market growth, the cybersecurity market growth is increasing in an exponential rate. Okay, so there are multiple different jobs you could do. Okay, initially when you start as a cybersecurity professional, you could work as a digital forensics. That is when an attacker is attack is happening, uh, making sure you do the detective work here. Okay, so digital forensics is actually it's the equivalent of a detective cases, where in the cybersecurity it's searching for the computers for evidences. So all these kinds of things as a digital forensics you will be doing. Then you will be doing a pen testing for systems and network. This is the official way of saying that I am a hacker, but in a legal way. Okay, you hack into the system. That is what a penetration testers actually do. Then application security, application pen testing. This is a field where I actually work. I work on different applications, making sure I pen test different applications on a regular basis. So there are a lot of applications. The number of application that is there in the current world is quite huge. Each and every different organization have their own web application. So making sure that those web application are in par with proper security measures.
Hello, Vishnu.
Yes.
Okay, we are almost, the time is almost up.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'll
so
wind up.
you can wind up with your closing statements.
Okay, definitely. Okay, okay. So as I was saying, we have different departments where, according to your needs, according to your interest, you could move on to. If you are interested in monitoring defensive stuff and all, you could move into something called a SOC analyst or cyber defense, where we are like they are actually implementing security measures. If you want to be an hacker, be a pen tester. Okay, so it is not just the initial stages. Once you move on, there are a lot of different positions that you could move on to, which is actually going to pay a lot. Okay, so let's say you start as a cybersecurity analyst. The average pay in the United States of America is uh, 1,005, 105K dollars. Okay, $1,500 you will be getting as an
Hey
initial
Vishnu,
pay.
this is
Yes.
Menon. This is Menon.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just can you give me a 2 or 3 minutes? So I would like to add something. In meanwhile,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you want to have some water, please have
yeah,
some.
yeah. Okay, okay, sure, sure. You
Sure.
can take over.
S- So, guys, hey, this is Menon, and most probably we do have a consultancy based in USA and also have a solution company, and where we also develop apps, websites, any kind of tools for maintaining and securing environment for n number of our clients. Now, one of the most demanding and high paying position is DevSecOps. The reason behind, most of the company, they have either they have developed their DevOps automation on their SDLC, software development lifecycle, that we are going to discuss after our this session. We are going to start our DevOps session as well, right? So now 50 to 60% company they have already implemented or is on the process of implementation on their SDLC with the DevOps. Now, while they have already, this automation DevOps when they are already on their system, but out of this, only maybe 3 or 4% they have a very secure pipeline. Rest they don't have a very secure pipeline or secure DevOps automation system. Now you can understand DevSecOps. It is a very new, trendy, and upcoming position. So their cybersecurity is this particular domain was there from last maybe last 20 years, but DevSecOps is very recent because for to use the DevSecOps, first you should have, or company they should have the DevOps on their system. Now problem is in the market we are also facing for our consultancy and our solution, we cannot find a very good DevSecOps engineer from market, because to become a DevSecOps engineer you should have a DevOps high level overview and you should have a very hands-on idea on cybersecurity. It is like a unison of two or um, uh, different domain mixed knowledge you should have. You should have a operation or DevOps knowledge, at the same time you should have a cybersecurity knowledge. So it is hard for people to get. It's not very hard for students to gain that knowledge, but it is very hard. It's becoming very hard for company consultancy to hire or find this kind of people. I'm giving an example. One of our students, he done our main courses in April. So our main courses, our paid courses, is for 2 months. He based out of Houston. He not at all IT engineer, but his dedication level is off the chart. He done from April, completed in June, total 2 months and 2.5 months. In July, he got 3 job offer. One is 2 DevSecOps, 1 pen tester. Now in DevSecOps position as a fresher, he somehow secure 190K per annum. So this kind of demand is there. Even anyone, if you go to the LinkedIn and try to find a DevSecOps position, you will notice that the position is open for last maybe 60 days, 30 days, 50 days, and the number of applicant who have applied for this position is very less compared to any other domain. So if you want to move forward in the cybersecurity and try to get a very good position in good company with good salary, it's my advice. I always try to advise our consultant and our students. So try to go for DevSecOps because you don't need to look behind. And it is just started this position, like this kind of position. It will grow exponentially in upcoming days. Yeah, Vishnu, I'd like love to share the what is actual happening in behind the curtain in US job market. So that's then I'd like to share this information to them. Yeah, please carry forward.
Okay,
Please go on.
sure. It's great to hear that. Additionally, it's really helpful for the students as well. Okay, so yeah, so we were actually discussing on the average salary where an entry level position cybersecurity professional might get. Along the way, it increases on an exponential way. So once you started as a cybersecurity analyst, then you have an experience, you move into pen testing, your salary is going to be 135K. Okay, then the top position, that is the CISO. CISO is the person, it's Chief Information Security Officer. So in short, we call it as CISO. CISO is the highest authority in an organization who handles the cybersecurity sectors of that specific organization. So if once you have grown into cybersecurity, your initial pay for CISO was 313K. That is the amount of salary that you are going to receive as a CISO once you have climbed up the ladder. Okay, so as we have discussed before and I have told multiple times along the presentation, there is a huge skill shortage. It's more like there are a lot of people who are uh, into pen testing or into cybersecurity, but the current job market, it's more like the skill shortage. That is people who are having proper knowledge of cybersecurity. So those kinds of people are quite less. Okay, because there is no proper training these days. Okay, people are depending certain YouTube videos, and also it's not a proper way of learning. Okay, so that is actually leading to a huge skill shortage. Okay. Okay, so any questions?
I'll just ask the question that I asked on the chart. I'll try to summarize it. Um, I saw that you mentioned somewhere in the presentation, but I just wanted to get a clarification. In the sense that since we have devices and we have programs or software for hacking, it's either we're hacking under the guise of being an ethical hacker or just simply being a red hat hacker straight out. But my question is there a really a clear-cut legislation that regulates or oversees these tools and devices and the hackers themselves when it comes to what they do, and to which, if indeed there is, then when it comes to the issues of data privacy, when we're speaking about software developer or the owners of the product, and in conjunction to government, because there must be some data privacy or user data use somehow there. So my question is there something that oversees data use in terms of data privacy, and then the regulation of those hacker tools and the hackers themselves?
Okay, so in the case of data tools and everything, yes, there is a regulation governance. They are the one for like when it comes to production and distributions of specific hacking tools and devices and all. There are specific regulation governance. For example, there are computer fraud, certain I'm not exactly sure the full form is CFAA Act. Okay, so they are the like that is one of the uh, legislation that oversees the distribution of hackers and all. Then we have some like in the US department, we have something called as a Bureau of Industry and Security. So they are the one who is in charge of governing certain cyber security tools and all. So exportation and making sure that it is not being used for malicious purpose and all. So these are implemented. So there are a lot of implementations on a governance that has been implemented for misuse of these tools and all. Okay, so yes, there are multiple different governance. In the case of USA, I'm talking about, but in different region that you're from, it depends on. But yes, there will be a specific governance. They are like governance that are in place to oversee these kinds of tools from happening. So your follow-up question. Apparently, if I'm not wrong, so you were asking if
No,
as
it's
an
It's the same thing. That's why I was trying to combine them too. It's
Okay,
you
okay. So
you yeah.
okay, so yeah, you were asking something like, if the ethical hackers, how they, in the case of privacy and confidentiality, is there any governing? So that is in the case of ethical hackers. So right.
So one more question I have.
Mhm.
Dipankar Sharma have asked.
Okay.
Can you please tell us about the tools that you can use application pen tester in your day-to-day process?
Okay, so
I think Vishnu will be very much happy to answer this question because he is a very high level extensive level ethical hacker as well as pen tester. So he will happy to answer this
okay,
question.
okay, okay. So apparently, most of the tools that I use are, software related. That is, software tools. That is, I use Burp Suite a lot. So my testing, it's comprises almost 80% of the tools that I use is in Burp Suite. That is a application proxy tool. But yes, there are various different tools that are open source tools that I use for different purposes. That is Metasploit I use, like certain nmap scripts I use. So these are, in general, these are the tools that you are also going to use on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so there is an operating system called as Kali Linux. You will find thousands of different tools in that. Okay, for like each different purposes according to what you want to do. Like for example, let's say for directory brute forcing, I normally use a tool called as a GoBuster, or FUF, fuzzing tools and all. So in certain cases, for account brute forcing and all, I use something called as Hydra. Okay, to finding out certain vulnerabilities and all, I use a tool called as Nikto, and certain Metasploit modules as well for certain specific vulnerability identification, and certain port numbers gathering and all these kinds of things. I used something called as Nmap. Then most of the application tool that I told for application testing, everything, almost 90-80% of the testing, I will be using something called as a burp suite. It's a proxy tool that it allows to capture request, modify them, and send it across. So these are the tools that right now, which I can say that comes over the mind, like use on a day-to-day basis. But yes, there are multiple tools that I might use on a later stage according to the situation. It differs.
And one more question I have, like
Yeah.
Ernest is very valid and intriguing question. Would I
Uh-huh.
be correct to assume that the rise in cyber attack is also facilitated by the rise in use and implementation of AI? Uh, Thus, I think there is a dire demand in a cybersecurity and AI stack SWE, right? 100% correct. This AI is not still now, Vishnu, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
This AI bot, there are not still proper AI is not came to yet in the picture that they can hack the system, but in the
Yes,
same time, but they are this AI is helping a lot to the hackers. So
exactly.
so
Yeah.
in the upcoming days, these AI will, and if you notice for last 1 year, the number of hacking happened in big organization like healthcare sector, this our AT&T healthcare sector, like United Healthcare. I think they have big issues happened few days before. I think one of the credit bureau they have got hacked few days before. There's some issue in CrowdStrike. You remember, like couple of months, and the Delta Airlines was got they sued 50 million, $500 million to CrowdStrike, and CrowdStrike itself a cybersecurity company. So last 1 year, the big companies' data was compromised in number of time, and the speculation is AI bot still not good enough to hack the whole system, but they are giving a very good value added to the hackers. And we are not far behind that. Someday we'll find some bot is available who can hack very easily if you provide some given parameters of some infrastructure. Vishnu, if you want, correct me if I'm wrong.
You are, you are absolutely correct on that point. The ones, it's the AI helping hacking, it's still going on, but the implementation is still in, the initial stages. But it's improving a lot. The amount of improvement that we see where hacking happened using AI is quite huge. No, it's if you take an example, let's say when ChatGPT was introduced, the first 10 days, uh the the creator and the owner was actually saying that the first 10 days there were no restrictions that have was actually put on that chat gpt. There was a huge lot of request from different people asking for generating AI tools, tools to for hacking purposes. Okay, so if at the initial stages of AI could help in that specific thing, imagine what all damage it could actually cause on a later stage when it is actually developed, properly integrated. So yes, I do, stand my points. Like because Malan, your point is actually valid. I'm with you.
Okay, so I think we are at the very end of today's session. So today, what happened? Our main instructor, Mr. Karthik, is down with fever, and then we had, and Vishnu is also. You can see in the last 2 hours, he's not also in his 100%. He is struggling very badly. But as we have already committed with our thing, and still we don't have full control of humans' health, right? So somehow we had to set up and continuing today's session. And next weekend, next same time, we are going to have a cyber security, most probably pen testing and network security. So you will have a more idea about pen testing. And the next weekends, our trainer will be either Mr. Karthik as well as or Vishnu, based on their availability and their health condition. So thank you, Vishnu. Thanks a lot. Uh, Guys, if you have any other question, uh, please ask forward, or we move forward to our next session with the same link. You don't need to drop, and you don't need to join any other link. We will start our DevOps day one internship programs session, and DevOps session will go for next 8 weeks. Yeah, crowds. If you mention the CrowdStrike attack was not an attack. Yeah, see, the problem is there is no regulation in so far now having that if some company, especially this thing happened, there is a regulation. Mr. Karthik will guide you, and Vishnu also can guide you in that way. If some healthcare system, banking system, if they got their data compromised, they don't have to report that they have hacked. They can bypass the system, issuing that statement that there is a system glitch. Other than this secures, because it will create some panic. Other than that, if there is any website or retail shop, if they don't have any compliances and then they hacked, they have to report. Now CrowdStrike, what happened, they have is a like a service provider to many industry, including healthcare, banking, airlines, other system. So if they have a glitch or attack, they should hide it. So we, from in a layman's point of view, we could not have any idea what happened. But it is very, very bad to think that this company, who is a service provide company on cyber security, and they have a glitch, and because of that, the whole world, uh, around more than 30% things was got disrupted. So many people, they have issued a statement that that was not a glitch. Now it is a speculation. Maybe there is a glitch, but there is a high chance that it was hacked. Yeah, even this thing happened 2016, I think. One of the US bank was got hacked, and after 5 years then they got issued that yes, that their system was hacked. So it is pretty common, because it is also it is not about they could, it is maintain the uh, suppose I'm giving an example. One bank, their system was got compromised, and if the news came up in the public, what will happen? There's high chance that called bank run. Everybody want to try to remove their money from their bank, and within a couple of hours the bank liquid money will be liquidation money, or liquid money will run out. So then there is a chances of bank run, and it will impact the whole economical system. To remove the, or eliminate the panic situation, this rules is there, and it is very, very valid. Okay, any more question, or should we close today's cyber security session 1, and we can start our DevOps today's session? Okay, I think thank you all for joining. If those also join for DevOps one, please you don't need to do anything. We are going to use the same link and same thing from here on. Vishnu,
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
a
Thank
thanks a
you
lot.
too. It's a great, honor to take this
Thank you,
session as
Vishnu,
well.
for even though you had you didn't have that much of a good health, but you still continued, and it was a fantastic session. Thank you,
Thanks
Vishnu.
a lot. It's my pleasure to talk about cybersecurity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great,
Okay.
great, great work.
Okay. So I'll take hand over the session to Menon. Then thank you all for listening. So I just.
Okay then. So yeah, Mr. Devashish, please. It is. I think we can start our today's DevOps internship program 1. And hello everyone. Again, I am repeating, you don't need to do anything. If you want to continue, or if you join for our DevOps internship day 1 session, because we are using the same meeting link to remove the confusion and guys, if you have any question to your job related, uh, career related thing, uh, feel free to ask, because we do have like a 4 or 5 minutes gap. So, and as I mentioned earlier, we not only having a training institute or training program, we also do have a consultancy based in US, and we are also having a solution company based in US and Germany. So feel free to ask if you had any career plan, because not